Okay, so as we move on, I think we are all led to believe that states who have legalized marijuana say it's quick, it's easy, and everyone's happy. Let's have the real conversation now on the perils of legalizing marijuana. Next, we welcome from the PA Manufacturing Association, David Taylor, and from the Pennsylvania Family Institute, Cheryl Lynn Allen. But first, a video to set the tone.
We know that cannabis is not dangerous. We know that cannabis is not addictive. And we know that the only thing that is in jeopardy when we legalize cannabis is potato chips.
You hid your vape underneath your pillows.
Yeah.
And you would come and smoke how often?
Oh, I couldn't go longer than like 10, 15 minutes without hitting it. It was so addicting. I brought it with me everywhere.
My life was falling apart around me.
I started using it just to feel like I could function.
The pair, now sober, both say they got hooked on a high-potency form of marijuana extract.
It did get to the point where it was if I don't smoke weed today, I'm not doing anything.
I couldn't wake up. I couldn't go to sleep. I couldn't do anything without it. Got so dependent.
So I was smoking around 96, 97% multiple times a day. It got to a point where I would do anything. I would literally do anything for weed.
Her parents had no idea their daughter had become hopelessly addicted.
This healthy dancer dancing 12 hours a week stopped dancing because of it, stopped living because of it, stopped going to school and college because of it.
My son started smoking pot when he was in the 8th grade, and when he was a freshman in college, he had his first psychotic break.
Amabili's son was diagnosed with schizophrenia, a condition she believes may have been caused by, or at least exacerbated, by his years of long daily marijuana use.
I know that being high makes his psychosis worse.
The amount of THC that's coming into their system is causing severe psychiatric symptoms such as suicidality and even psychotic breaks.
It used to be asserted that there was no such thing as physical dependence on cannabis, and there was no such thing as a cannabinoid withdrawal syndrome.
Yeah.
And that's clearly not true.
We know that cannabis is not dangerous. We know that cannabis is not addictive, not addictive, not addictive, not addictive.
I'm Cheryl Allen from the Pennsylvania Family Institute, and I thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my experience on the issue of legalization of recreational marijuana. I know that the legalization of recreational marijuana will bring increased decay and dire consequences to our state, and especially to our young people. I served as a school teacher. I've served as an attorney representing children and youth services in Allegheny County, and I've served as a common pleas court judge for 17 years. My experience in adjudicating cases involving addiction, whether in juvenile court or criminal court, is extensive. The overwhelming majority of criminal court cases involve substance abuse and addiction, ranging from simple possession of a controlled substance or possession with intent to deliver a controlled substance, as well as property crimes and often violent crimes, which are often committed for the purpose of supporting an addiction. The overwhelming majority of children who come into the child welfare system pursuant to a dependency adjudication come from homes where parents are rendered incapable of caring for them because of addiction. It would be fair to say that over a period of 17 years, I've interacted with thousands of families and individuals, including teenagers, whose lives have been wrecked or destroyed and whose families have been torn apart and rendered dysfunctional because of drug addiction. I have learned through experience that there is no such thing as a harmless controlled substance. That is why the substance was controlled in the first place. Marijuana is not a harmless substance. First of all, every drug addict I know, and I came to know thousands, started out using marijuana. Today, people can and do become addicted to marijuana, especially young people. Marijuana addiction occurs at a tremendous cost to families, to teenagers, and to society. Now, the purpose of government, or government's purposes, include the following: to establish laws, maintain order and provide security, protect citizens from external threats, and promote the general welfare by providing public services. Legalizing marijuana for recreational purposes or use will not serve any of these purposes. The main benefactors of legalizing marijuana for recreational use will be the corporate giants who are attempting to position themselves to reap profits at the expense of Pennsylvania's citizens, especially our young people. The marijuana of today is much stronger than it was in the past. According to the National Institute on Drug Abuse, of the more than 500 chemicals in marijuana, THC is the main one that causes a person to feel high, and THC levels have been dramatically increasing. In the early 1990s, the average amount of THC in marijuana seized by the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration was less than 4%. In 2018, it averaged more than 15%. The average THC potency in products available in some state dispensaries can be even higher. In states that have legalized the commercial sale of marijuana for recreational use, we are seeing marijuana products with 99% THC for legal sale. The rise in THC potency could increase the negative effects of using marijuana, at first, especially for first-time users, for young people, because their brains and bodies are still developing. Smoking or vaping high-potency marijuana can cause serious side effects, leading some people to seek help in emergency rooms. High doses of THC can trigger psychotic episodes, which is the main cause for emergency room visits associated with marijuana. Marijuana overdose may occur from high THC potency, which may lead to sickness or extreme disorientation. And frequent exposure to high levels of THC increase the risk of dependence and addiction, and using marijuana at a young age increases the risk for addiction later in life. An article by the Partnership to End Addiction noted that research has found that young people who use marijuana are as much as 4 to 7 times more likely than adults to become addicted. High-potency THC is also associated with more severe dependence and a greater likelihood of increased risk among adolescents of developing schizophrenia or other psychoses and anxiety disorders, panic attacks, especially among frequent long-term users. Marijuana can lead to problems with attention, memory, learning, as well as poor judgment, increasing the likelihood of risky sexual behaviors and unlawful acts. Marijuana can also decrease a young person's IQ. Finally, long-term marijuana, especially by young people, may result in physical side effects such as respiratory problems, fertility issues, immune system problems, in addition to changes in the brain and emotional problems. In other words, the research is clear. Recreational marijuana use poses an extreme danger for our young people and consequently our future. No amount of tax revenue is worth sacrificing the safety and well-being of our citizens, especially our youth. Now, very often I will hear politicians attempt to conflate the need for criminal justice reform as a justification for legalizing recreational marijuana. This is clearly wrong. The argument is that marijuana must be legalized so that racial disparities in arrests, charging, prosecution, sentencing, and incarceration can be minimized or eliminated. The problem with this argument is that in the criminal court system, racial disparities in prosecuting drug cases exist across the board. These disparities result from law enforcement's focus on street or open drug trafficking rather than drugs which are sold and delivered in less conspicuous ways. So does this mean that crack cocaine or heroin should also be legalized for recreational use so that racial disparities can be eliminated? The negative impact that illegal drugs have on the Black community goes far beyond racial disparities in criminal prosecution. Should we ignore the violence and the death that accompanies drug dealing? Should we ignore the broken homes and the traumatized, neglected youth who end up in the foster care system because of drug addiction? Should we overlook the physical, emotional, mental, and behavioral problems that our young people suffer from drug use? We should not fall into the trap of attempting to correct a wrong with another wrong, because all we will end up with is wrong. We should not be legalizing any mind-altering chemicals for recreational use. It would be a serious setback to society, and we cannot right any societal problems using a wrong method. For these reasons, legalizing recreational marijuana is wrong for Pennsylvania and must be rejected.
Well, thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Well, Your Honor, it's not a surprise that I think you're exactly right about all that. You know, working on behalf of the business community, the manufacturing sector, I have a complementary but different view. One of the challenges that we have in manufacturing today is a workforce crisis, that manufacturing is critical to our economy and the well-being of our society because manufacturing is the sector that adds the most value, has the best paying and best compensated jobs, and has the strongest multiplier effect on jobs in related industries. So manufacturing really is the engine that moves Pennsylvania forward. We have a workforce crisis whereby our employers can't find enough qualified new hires to fully staff up. And so we have, at any given point, it's a rolling total, but it's about 6,000 open manufacturing positions in Pennsylvania, and that, you know, our employers are struggling to find people who can take up that work. One of the things that we absolutely have to have in manufacturing is a safe workplace. None of this is optional. OSHA is not optional. The Pennsylvania Workers' Comp Law is not optional. And beyond that, of course, employers have a profound moral responsibility to take care of their employees and keep everybody safe. So to that end, because, you know, in an industrial environment that you have, what? Heavy equipment, bladed instruments, extreme temperatures, high voltage, chemical reactions, a lot of dangerous things. So we need to make sure that people are sober. And again, please don't take it from me. I would point to Wolf Home Products in York, Pennsylvania. And if you would go to their website, wolfhomeproducts.com/careers, you'll see all the great stuff about working at the Wolf Company and you know, wages and tuition reimbursement and paid time off. In small print, it says drug-free work environment, pre-employment drug screening required. So again, don't take it from me. That was the company where the president was former Governor Tom Wolf. So again, these things to us are not optional. And so if the Commonwealth commits to legalizing and mass commercializing recreational marijuana, you're going to increase use, which means that you're going to decrease that pool of potential folks who could work in these good-paying, family-sustaining jobs. The opportunity cost is enormous because it's not just in industry where you have to pass a drug test to be able to work. There are jobs in healthcare, jobs in finance. There are many ways in which people are rendering themselves unemployable by being recreational drug users. Now, again, we've got a drug use problem in our society. And I don't know how to correct that, but I do know that when you have a problem, the first thing you should do is not make it worse. And that this is what we're facing with these various plans in Harrisburg to create a new big tobacco. And again, the judge was referring to some of the very serious long-term health problems that result from chronic marijuana use. And the fact is that psychosis is to marijuana as cancer is to tobacco, that some subset of users are going to develop that condition. Also, as we learn more about the maturation of the human body, that we have come to discover that the human brain isn't fully developed until about age 25. And so even if you would have a legal limit of 18 or 21, you're still talking about critical years of a younger person's brain formation, where we could wind up with a generation of citizens who are permanently stunted. And it just, again, I know that government greed is a very powerful thing, and that the appeal of having a new sin tax to collect money for more government programs that people can take credit for is tempting. But again, the long-term ramifications of an uncompetitive business environment, people missing out on the chance to have a career with a family-sustaining job, and certainly the health problems that would result. This is not the right thing to do. And just one last point that I'll make, which is that you do have some of these advocates for legalization and mass commercialization. They'll say, well, that this will take business away from the criminal activities that are taking place. It's like, well, if the criminals aren't able to make money off of marijuana, they're not going to go, guess I got to go to grad school now. They're going to go and say, well, got to find something else to make money off of. Maybe it'll be heroin. Maybe it'll be fentanyl. Maybe it'll be human trafficking and prostitution. I think that we're as likely to invite escalation from the criminal world as we are to have them give up when faced with less revenue from one of their activities. And again, there are no easy answers to this, and certainly I've learned over time that this is not a popular position to take in wider society. But again, like I was saying, I hate having to be that guy, but I guess I have to be that guy if nobody else is willing to tell the truth in public with things that are just so painfully obvious. It's not that I want to boss anybody around. It's not that I don't want people to have fun on the weekends. It's that lawfully our manufacturing employers cannot have people on the plant floor endangering our operations, endangering other employees if they're not sober. And again, we've got a bad problem. Let's not make it worse.
And correct. And I think it's been well established, well proven that in states where marijuana has been legalized for recreational use, the cost to society sometimes or very often outweighs any tax revenue or tax benefit that is realized, because the cost in the criminal justice system, and no, the black market will not go away because recreational marijuana has been legalized. The black market continues in many states. Young people are not only driving under the influence of alcohol, they're driving under the influence of marijuana. And marijuana, we don't have a mechanism in place where the amount of marijuana in a person's system can be tested like we do alcohol. And you know, when you consider and look at what's going on in our school system regarding our young people, our young people are being dumbed down academically. They're being sexualized through library books and materials and sex education classes, and now a percentage of them will be drugged up. And you know, it's just not a good situation for our future, for our society. The increase in impulsive behavior among our young people that marijuana use and addiction brings is not good for society. And we must fight this. As I said before, the only industry that will benefit from this are the corporate manufacturers or the corporate producers of marijuana. And so we're urging all of you to write your legislator and let them know how you feel, let them know that marijuana legalization is not right for Pennsylvania. It's not right for our young people. It's not right for our school system. It's wrong.
Thank you very much.